to the second day of pell work. Sorry I'm a couple minutes late, trying to get everything ready, and it's a bit raining outside, so you might hear some strange weather noises. It's fine. So, the things we're going to talk today are, we're going to talk about three specific things. We're going to talk about thrusting, wrap shots, and lefty side shots. So that means I'm going to be throwing some shots as a lefty and how I would block shots from a lefty as a righty. So that'll be the last part. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about thrusting first. Okay? Make sure it's still good. All right. So thrusting has a couple very good aspects to it. It keeps people at range, first and foremost. It can also stop someone's movement. So if your enemy is coming towards you, you can do a thrust, and it's going to make them stop their movement. Okay? So it's got range, it has capability of stopping movement. The two biggest issues is going to be number one, controlling and placement. Because you don't want to go and hit the shield and have it bounce off, then you become open. Okay? So you want to make sure that you are good and consistent with your thrusting shots. This sword does not have a thrusting tip on it, but we're going to imagine that it does. Okay? When you do practice this, make sure you do have a real thrusting tip on so you can understand force, placement, all right, everything like that. The second thing that's going to be is whether or not thrusts are used as a first shot or as a second shot. Okay? Now, people who are usually starting out fighting or starting out fighting with a thrusting tip, most of them will actually thrust first. Okay? It's not a clear indication that, oh, this guy is perfectly new. No, they might see a drastic opening and they're going to go for it. But usually, if someone is going to thrust, you're going to see a totally different stance. Okay? So from here, they might be going and bringing the tip forward more. Why is your tip forward? It's going to be hard to go and throw a good shot like that. Oh, they're planning on doing a thrust. Okay? A thrust should always be thrown as part of a combination. Okay? If you can throw once on a thrust, boom, and you get it, that's great. But you need to plan for a second shot. If it lands first, then you don't need to throw the second shot. But if you throw the shot, and maybe it was up, just off to the side, or it was glancing, or it wasn't hard enough, you can be like, aha, I got it! And then you don't throw the shot, you don't block, and you die. So you always need to make sure. Plane will go by here real quick. And of course it's going overhead, so it's taking longer and much louder. So when you start practicing thrusts, you need to go and practice thrust and then strike, or strike and thrust. Okay? Do both. Don't go strike, thrust, strike, thrust, strike, thrust, strike, thrust. Then you're never going to get into form on how to go with a secondary shot as a thrust. You're going to see this because some people are going to fight and they're going to go like this and they're going to go up. And then they're going to do a massive form shift. And it's like, what is that? Oh, they're going to try a thrust. Now, there's several different ways to start a combination with a thrust. Okay? Long time ago, galaxy far, far away, when all this stuff first started, one of the techniques that was used a lot was the scorpion. Easy way to just come in with a thrust. You have the shot coming down, So if it misses, it can still go to the body or over to the shoulder. Well, that's great, but you don't have a lot of other shots. Here, and then you have to totally change and do a massive 360 swing for a second shot. So, besides that, when you're doing like this, someone who's been fighting you a long time, if your tip is way high, it's a little bit better. If it's really close down, they're just going to take their sword, hit the sword on top of your sword, pin it to your shield. You got no thrust, you got no strike. All you can do is just disengage. Okay? So, this is not the greatest. This is one of the earliest forms, not the greatest form. When you want to actually start going with a thrust, me personally, everyone kind of does this, like I said, as a beginning, oh, I'm going to try and thrust. Or they're going to come in, or they're going to do a low drop and try and thrust for a hip or a leg, maybe for a body. But the tip's going to be low and it's going to be out. Okay? It's only a thrust. There's not going to be a... That's not going to be a good shot. The only thing you have is a thrust capability. Same thing up here. If it's up here, thrust. Now, what I try and tell is you need to learn to throw a thrust from your normal stance position. And I'll give you an example. My normal stance in one of my forms, I kind of transfer between three regular forms, is to go like this and throw and then roll my basket hilt and drop the tip in right into the face. Now, it's going to take practice, but one of the nice things about this, if someone has a shield that's really high, it's not going to work real well. But if their shield is low, you can actually throw the shot, land it on top of their shield, and use their shield as a guide for the first thrust. So, drop and strike, and then from there, you immediately into your normal stance for a combination. Okay? Now, throwing a shot and then a thrust. Okay? The problem that comes into play is a lot of times if you throw a shot, you're really too close to thrust. So you really have to figure out a movement or a style or an angle system that works. I know some people that will go like this and then they draw or drag their sword back as essentially to throw for this. Boom, throw, and then strike like that. Like I said, this is not a great starting position, but after you throw a shot, spring, you can now use that form for a thrust. And especially if they're going to be wide open. Now, I'm not focusing, so I'm glancing off the pell. That's what's going to happen a lot for a lot of times. You're going to go and it's not a big striking surface. It is a point area target. So you got to really focus. And like I said before, you have to have a good agility. So if you're gripping it really hard, you could really crank someone into the face. So you got to control the shot. And whenever you're moving, like I said, it's also easier to kind of rotate the shot in. Okay? Instead of, as you can see, it's kind of arcing, like a trajectory into the thing. If I'm very rigid, because I'm using the whole arm and not just a rotation strike in. Okay? So you got to be careful, but it's a very important thing to start practicing. If you don't feel comfortable with it at first, there's nothing that says you have to. If you want to take a year or two and not do thrusting, that's fine. If you do use thrusting, you need to use it about once every 5 shots. If you don't use it unless it's like, da, 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 I got nothing else, then it's not really part of your shot vocabulary. It is just a Hail Mary. You want to make sure you get shot, shot, boom. Okay, I stepped out and I totally went by. So I need to probably step back. Every person that throws a shot, and especially for a thrust, is going to throw differently. I say there's two areas you should always aim for. If you can go for the face gently and strike solidly, that's great. If not, you need to go for an open hip or an open shoulder. So if a person's a right-handed person and they're fighting, what you need to do is you come in, you throw the shot, step back, and then take your left foot, step out, and rotate in to the right shoulder. Because remember, even if you miss the right shoulder, it's going to go into the body, into the armpit. It's going to land into a good, solid shot area. Don't try and come up with 3, 4 combinations. Every time you throw a second one, you get, so the first shot, 100%. Second shot, 80%. Third shot, maybe 30, 40%. If you try and do a thrust, it's going to be less than 10. So even with a third shot for a thrust, you're still going to get only maybe 20 to 30% chance, unless it's wide open. Then you focus on the shot to get it. It's part of the whole thing of building up to multiple combinations. Always start with 1 shot, then practice 2 shots, then you go to 3 shots. A 4th shot, I always tell everyone, is always what's known as a disengaging shot. So if I'm going 1, 2, 3, my 4th shot is actually leaving the area and getting back to start position. So the 4th shot will always be a disengaging shot, at least for me. Because my shots at that point, I'm either too close, there's not enough openings, it's really not going to work. So anything more than 3 will probably be a disengaging shot because you're going to be too close. So practice by, like I said, get into your normal stance when you want to throw a shot and go, all right, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do the normal movement that you would do for a shot and then shift it for a thrust. Okay? Bringing it up here like that, telegraphing. Down here, telegraphing. Always bring it back to your normal stance. And for the second one, all right, if you want to throw a shot, boom, bring it back. You pretty much have to, unless it's straight in for a face shot, you will pretty much always have to shift to the open side to throw for a jointed hip, shoulder, armpit, things like that. Because if you're going to try and step back and thrust to the side, all the person has to do is shift a little bit, shot's not going to land. So you have to step into the shot to make sure that the shot's going to go into the jointed area. All right, now the next one's going to be the wrap, okay? There's many different ways to throw a wrap shot. It's all about your body dynamics. Some people are taught to throw it and then at the very end, just rotate it at the end. I tell everyone what you want to do is when you get, very few times do you throw a wrap shot to begin with because you're way too far out, okay? So you throw a wrap shot as part of a combination, the second part of a combination. So you step over, throw, and then you step in again, and now you're throwing past your opponent. Because you're so close, it's not going to work. Now the one nice thing is you can throw from shoulder length high or leg to body, okay? So I'll show you the 2 different kinds. Boom, low, and as you're going in low, you're actually not committing to one specific shot. You're kind of riding the shot up until you see what's open. Now, If the leg's open, so we're going to go for a leg shot right here. Now, as I throw, I am going to, right before I land the shot, I'm going to throw my left hip forward. It's a way of compressing the shot to increase the force. Now, same thing for the head shot. The best thing about this is because you're so close, you throw past your opponent. It's not close like this. You throw out at least 45 degrees past your opponent. That gives you the entire range of the back to hit. Back of the head, back of the shoulder, back of the body, back of the hip, back of the leg. And all you have to do, shift your right elbow up, just like you're throwing an offside shot. And what do you do when you throw the offside shot? You push the left hip forward. You're very close. That's the whole point of the shot. You are so close that these shots might not be good. Those nice long rotation shots are going to land good, as long as you got the right form. Now, most people will throw one, maybe two wrap shots in a row. Then people will disengage. The key is this. There's one person I know, fighter down in Mississippi. He would throw wrap shots like crazy, but he was a lefty. Once he started throwing a wrap shot, he just kept on. We called it the wheel of misfortune. Because once you got in there, you could do nothing but block the shots like this. And then he would come in and he'd keep on stepping, so you had to keep on rotating like this. You were totally out of your form. I was able to get him a lot because I know when he was throwing the shots, he was doing a full rotation movement. When he got up to this point, he would step, which would expose his leg. So I would go into this position, crouch down, and as soon as he left up and his left leg came forward, I'd strike straight down onto his leg. He hated it. I was the only one that was doing it to him the entire time. So he would never continue the rotation on me. But once he got the rotation, it was part of his movement. He controlled the fight. He was way in close. No one would be able to throw a good solid shot. And he had full body momentum. He was a big muscular guy, came in really close. It hurt. So when you start practicing, you should always throw your first shot and then step, practice, throw. Once you get good, then you should throw 2 wrap shots in a row. Why should you do that? Number one, it's for you to understand body mechanics again. All right, I'm in this position. Now, how do I get out of it? Wow, stepping into it is more natural than actually getting out of it. So once you get into that, sorry for the noise, or once you get into it, like I said, it starts to become natural. Now, a righty against a lefty, throwing the exact same combinations, it can be dangerous because you're talking about 2 people with open sides throwing continually the same shots. So, you got to learn to block them. So, remember, wrap shots are, I really don't know of anyone that throws a wrap shot to begin with. Even throwing a thrust and then a wrap is possible. Usually the wrap shots are always going to be secondary shots. Second and third. Now, what is part of the reason to actually throw past your opponent? Like I said, you want to get the momentum and the compression shot of throwing, bringing the elbow up, and pushing the left hip in. The other aspect about this is there's going to be some people who don't know how to throw it correctly. So what's going to happen is they're going to do this, and they're not going to get the elbow up. Or it's going to feel weird. Because what they're doing is they're not letting the shot flow naturally. As you can see, my blade is always striking. If you're really close sometimes and you want to throw a shot, you might not strike with the blade all the time. It might come in flat. It's always going to be the call of the fighters, of course. But this way, you know exactly that the blade is going to land every single time. Now, the other thing too is, why is the wrap shot so good? Because how many people have full leg armor on the back of their leg? Full butt protection, full back protection, full upper arm, back arm protection. Head, everyone has back head protection, of course. But at this point, you can land a shot in an unprotected area. Pretty much anyone is going to call that shot. So it's a lot easier to throw to an unprotected area. All right? So now we're going to talk about lefties. Excuse me. Now, one of the things, like I said, the first thing that lefties are going to do is that they're going to do a V movement. So they're going to immediately step out here, not straight in. So they're going to throw. Now, what is that compared to this? It is actually more of an angle. So as a lefty, it would be coming in at this angle. As a righty, we'd be coming in at this angle. So when people try and block, they usually go and try and block as much of a rotation as they normally do against another right-handed fighter. So as a lefty, like I said, they're going to be able to throw farther, or as I said, they do a wrap shot. It's the full back, not just an arm. They can hit the full back area. So you want to make sure when you block, switch back over, you just don't block like this as what normal right-hand people do. Oh, he's going to throw a shot. That shot's going to come in right here. I just need to go like this and block it. Hey, that's easy. A lefty is going to step over here and throw the shot this way. I now have to block much further. I have to get out of my normal muscle memory of like, oh, I just have to do this and I didn't block it. Same thing. Now, lefties have the same thing when they fight righties. All right, we're going to throw a shot. We're going to throw like this. They're going to put up their shield and go, oh, that's easy enough. I'm just going to go like that. Now, I'm going to show you how I fight as a righty against a lefty. Now, as a normal position would be like this. I fight like this. So my sword's on the left side. My shield is on the right side. Yes, I am constricting some of my body movement, but I've already conditioned myself to throw this type of shot. I lift up, I step over, and I throw this shot. I don't throw this shot. I throw this shot. That is almost a full 80 to 90 degrees more. So, as lefties go, I'm going to block that right here. I'm actually throwing past that point. So like I said, as a righty, I fight like a lefty. And then my second shot, since I'm going towards their shield side now, is I come in and I throw a wrap. Now, lefties will usually throw one of two types of first shots. The majority is always going to be from here, they're going to step, and they're going to try for the leg, hip, or body. Or they'll come over, they'll try for a head, or an arm, that type of thing. Since it's open on the right side, it's open, open. Why is it the lefties win all the time? Because we go straight in, opens up the area more, they come out, they get more of the back area, we can't block it. Okay? So, you're most of the time going to step out, throw for the open side. The next shot that they're going to do, when I fight or pretend to be like a lefty sometimes, I go like this, and the first thing I do is I do the same thing. I do a V to the right, and I go over the shield, and I go towards the left ear. When you get really good, you're going to be able to actually put marks on your pell and say, okay, left ear. All right, you're going to be fighting a different way, right jaw. So go and put different things on there. Then have someone come out and say, right leg, left ear, right jaw. Then all of a sudden it's going to be, okay, boom, boom. No, I can't do that, so I got to actually step out and throw for the right jaw. Create different combinations and practice them on the pell. You need to understand how to create openings and how, when an opening is created, the correct movement. And that's why you need to do different movements to get it muscle memory. So it's like, oh, that's open right there. Because they're going to go that way. I'm going to step back. They're going to step over. Their right leg is wide open. I'm throwing straight for the leg. That type of thing. And like I said when I was teaching my Florentine class, if you want to learn Florentine, take a shield and go right side shield, left side sword, so you can figure out the correct movements. If you're doing strike, strike, you're doing, like I said before, same shot, same shot. If you're doing a strike like this, you can do the same strike with the left. The left should actually be farther. All right? Because, like I said, unless you fight always in a V form, if you step in and throw a shot for a right side, you're immediately going to do the same type of angle. So if you're going to do that, you need to step out, maybe throw this one first, and then throw towards the leg, and then draw this one down for a block. Everything builds upon the basics. Figure out your basics. Figure out different ways of moving. Focus on just single shots to begin with. Then add a second shot only. Build it. Figure out how it is. Get your body to move comfortably. And then build your muscle memory into it. So you're like, I'm doing this, and wow, I just threw that shot and I didn't even think about it. That is the point that you should be trying to get at. After that, then you start calculating. That is much farther beyond at this point. But, so, I only wanted to do 3 things. but it's a lot for just those 3 things. So, review real quick. For thrusts, you're pretty much always going to have a thrust or a wrap used in a combination. So when you start using them, only do 2 shots to begin with. Okay? If you want to be thrusting to begin with, make sure you get back to your normal start stance and figure out a way to thrust without telegraphing. Second, when you want to actually throw a shot and then step back, that's an opening. Figure out how you want to thrust after the first shot that's going to land comfortably for the second. Next thing, the wrap. You always want to make sure when you do the wrap, you throw past your opponent well outside, because you don't want to go towards the shield. You want to go past the shield, get a full swing comfortably, bring your elbow up, swing with your right hip at the last second to compress the shot, and then once you get those 2 combinations, then figure out how to throw 2 wraps at the same time. At that point, you're controlling the fight because you're controlling the distance. Okay? And the last thing was to give you a visual understanding of fighting like a lefty and how to fight against the lefty with a pell. So, like I said, different people fight differently. A lot of people, no matter what, will get into the normal stance and the sides wide open. Hey, this is great. I really have to do very little movement. I just have to strike as fast as I can and as hard as I can before that leg or hip is out of range. Lefties get the first shot because we come straight in, they go out. All right? So, first thing you want to do, take your shield, put it towards the right side of your shoulder or hip area. So shoulder to hip, you want to bring from heart to shoulder. Now at that point, as you can see, some of your shots are not going to work because your shield's in the way. That's when you really need to start focusing on starting with a crossbody shot. Like I do, it's usually wide open. They're like, oh, it's on my shield side, I really don't have to worry about it. As soon as they step that way, I step this way, and I go over their shield, and then they're trying to figure out, oh, well, I'll go up. There's an arm right there, but then as soon as I throw, the arm is gone. It's going to take practice. As they used to say a long time ago, lefties are evil. They're not evil. We just always try and fight them like a righty. That's the problem. So the more you fight lefties, the better you're going to have. So, but also with some lefties, if you can get good enough that you can throw a wrap on lefties, that's going to be great, because the interesting thing is a lot of lefties, unless they practice wraps, they're not really be coming close in on you. They're going to keep their range so they can get the angles. You get in really close and you start throwing wraps, it's going to get them flustered to begin with, because it's not how they normally fight. Because that's how they fight, but now you're changing and controlling the fight. So, I want to thank you very much. We'll be having 2 more classes, and then on the pell. One will be on polearm and one will be on Florentine. And then we'll actually do some one-on-one slow fights with another opponent. Let's see. Also, I've been getting some videos from people. Please, if you have videos, I don't care, 6 months ago, 3 years ago, anything like that. Number 1, please videotape all of your fights so you can review it and see how come he kept on hitting me in the leg. Oh, I was raising my shield up too much, and he saw it, and he kept on throwing. I need to make sure I keep my shield down and change my blocking high. That type of thing. But every time you have a video, please send me a video. I will do my best to give you information on what you're doing wrong. I'm not going to be mean about it. I'm just going to be honest. So my goal is to, number one, not just teach people how to fight, but teach people their own understanding of how they fight. And then I want everyone to be better fighters, so I become a better fighter. I'm not going to try and, oh, well, yeah, you need to step with your left leg out a lot more and don't even cover it with your shield. Why am I getting hit in the leg? Ha, 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 ha. I'm not like that. I want you to be better so everyone else around you can be better, so it becomes even a better fight. So please, if you can, I would love to see your videos. But if you don't send me your videos, please at least record them so you can watch them and so your entire group can watch and learn. Because some people, when they're fighting, they don't see the entire picture, especially on the side. It's a totally different fight too. So I want to thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again real soon.